Hi there! Welcome back to Food for Thought. My name is Olga Preston and I am a registered nutritional therapist and nutritionist, specializing in nutrition for mental well-being at the Institute for Optimum Nutrition's Brain Biocenter. Now, have you ever heard that there is a connection between the food you eat and the way you feel? It can be hard to believe, especially if, like many of us, you grew up completely oblivious to the fact that food does have a profound effect on your mental well-being. But how does it work? One way in which food affects our mental well-being is by affecting our blood sugar levels. When we consume certain foods, these turn into glucose in the body, which is our brain's preferred form of fuel. Our body releases a hormone called insulin, which assesses the amount of sugar in the blood and helps to get rid of it. So glucose can be used for energy if needed, or if there's too much available, it can be stored in the liver or in the muscles, or it can be stored as fat. And this is mainly across your tummy, which many of us may have noticed. Eating a diet high in sugar and simple carbohydrates like white rice, white pasta, can lead to peaks and dips of blood sugar because your body is having to constantly produce insulin to try to put all this glucose away safely. These highs and lows in blood sugar affect your brain function, and they also affect your concentration, your mood, your energy levels, can cause anxiety, irritability, can affect your learning and development, it affects your sleep, just affects so many things. So having too much of these carbohydrates has a big impact on your well-being. It is also worth knowing that blood sugar imbalances amplify mental health problems. So in our journey to helping our own well-being, one of the most important things that we can do to protect our mental health is to learn how to balance our blood sugar levels with foods. But there are many more challenges to be aware of. It is important to understand that insulin, the hormone that our body releases when we consume carbohydrates, is also a fat-storing hormone. Yes, sadly. This means that the more insulin we produce, the more fat we will stack away. If our blood sugars are constantly spiking and falling, we'll also feel like tired and less energetic. We might stop exercising, and this can then lead to things like obesity and other health conditions such as high blood pressure. This in turn can lead to depression and problems with social interaction. It is also worth knowing that if we have high levels of stress, which most of us do from time to time, then things are a little bit more challenging. Stress can lead to obesity through overeating, and the combination of high cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and blood sugar imbalances can lead to things like depression, and it's also associated with PTSD. Stress actually increases our appetite signals, and it causes inflammation and affects neurotransmitter balance. We talked about the importance of having neurotransmitters balance in our first episode because these are important messengers which affect our brain and other areas of the body. If you eat lots of sugar or have a diet high in refined carbohydrates, this can also lead to inflammation. Inflammation interferes with the production of our neurotransmitters and how they work in the brain. For example, inflammation steals away tryptophan and interferes with the serotonin production. As serotonin is our happy neurotransmitter, we want to have good levels of it. Now, serotonin also affects melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So this starts to give you an idea of why it's important to stay away from inflammatory foods to support your blood sugar levels and protect your mental well-being. Sugary foods often include high saturated fats too. So things like pastries and biscuits and cakes and donuts and pizza, they contain a combination of sugar and saturated fats, which is quite lethal for our mental well-being. We do not want that. This is because it's associated with insulin resistance, which is basically when your body slowly stops listening to insulin. So it starts going like this, I don't want to listen. So fizzy drinks also affect blood sugar levels. So just be mindful of these. So if you are someone who likes fizzy drinks or you eat lots of foods that we have talked about, think about how you can start to reduce these foods in your diet. Now, have you heard about the insulin and dopamine link? Let me tell you. When you start to become insulin resistant, that means when your body stops listening so much to insulin, you need to start producing more and more and more of it. Insulin resistance leads to reduced insulin signaling in the brain, and this can lead to increased dopamine clearance, which is associated with things like anxiety and depressive behavior. Now, some studies have also found that if you have insulin resistance, then there is a 30% unresponsiveness to multiple rounds of medication. So balancing your blood sugar is an important step to help respond better to medication. Now, let's turn our thoughts to alcohol. Alcohol is pretty much liquid sugar. This means it causes a big spike followed by a big drop in blood sugar, which is especially dangerous if you are diabetic, so just be mindful. Apart from that, alcohol is high in calories, which can make you put on weight. This drives inflammation and also affects your neurotransmitter levels. Now, this causes mood changes. It also dramatically affects the bacteria in your gut, which affects your brain function. But we will have a full episode on the gut-to-brain connection later. For now, the important thing is to understand that alcohol affects your blood sugar levels, and that blood sugar level dysregulation affects our mental health. If you want to drink alcohol, I will say drink it the best way, which is in the Mediterranean style. This is occasionally, and when you do, enjoying it with a main meal, and if possible, sticking to red wine. What should we eat to balance blood sugars? The best thing to eat is foods that release glucose slowly, like complex carbohydrates, and to mix them with protein sources, either from plants or animals, with good quality fats. This is because fiber, protein, and good quality fats will slow down the release of glucose from foods. Animal protein can include things like oily fish, and turkey, and chicken, and eggs, and cheese, while vegan protein sources include things like beans, and lentils, and tofu, and soya, nuts, seeds, quinoa, and peas. So there's plenty of choice for everybody. Good fats include things like olive oil and avocados, nuts and seeds and oily fish, and chia seeds and flax seeds and coconut oil, so plenty of choice. Whenever you eat a meal, what you need to try to do is to ensure that you have a mix of protein with complex carbohydrates and healthy fats. For example, what you can do is you can have some oven-baked salmon with some brown rice, with stir-fried vegetables. Then you can chop some avocado and put it on top and drizzle it with olive oil. So that's a complete meal that will support your blood sugar levels. Or you can just have some tin sardines. So just open a tin of sardines. We're not worried about tins here, so we just want the protein to go in. So just use a tin of sardines in olive oil with a side salad and some oat cakes for a quick lunch. Or you could have a frittata with a spinach and some peppers and some oat cakes. That will be a very good way of balancing your blood sugar. In terms of lifestyle, today, I want you to focus on exercise because it helps our body to respond better to insulin. So exercise can also help you to manage your stress levels, decreasing the effects of high cortisol on insulin and on neurotransmitters. If you're not already an active person, what small changes can you start to introduce? Perhaps you could go out for a 10-minute walk at lunch, or do a short stretch before bed, or a little bit of yoga. Anything, any movement will help. Also, please remember that if you do not sleep well, this will further disrupt your blood sugar levels and lead to overeating, so sleep hygiene is very important. We talked about this in our first episode. And when it comes to diet, this week, try to think about what you are putting on your plate and how this will balance your blood sugars. Are you getting a good portion of protein and healthy fats and complex carbohydrates? This will help you on your way to more stable blood sugar and better mental well-being. Now, Thanks for joining me for another episode of Food for Thought. In our next episode, I'll be talking about the importance of essential fats for brain health. So make sure that you don't miss it.